Let's get right into it. Number 1, Radium Glow Paint. Picture yourself in the 1920s. You're young, you need a job, and hey, painting glow-in-the-dark watch faces sounds kind of fun, right? Except the glow comes from radium, a radioactive element that makes Chernobyl look like a nightlight. The factory bosses tell you it's safe, actually healthy. They encourage you to lick the paintbrush to make the tips nice and sharp. So you do, every day for months, and slowly your teeth start to loosen. Your jawbone begins to crumble like wet chalk. You're glowing in the mirror, but not in the cute highlighter on the cheekbones way, more like nightmare skeleton cosplay. Scientists finally figured out radium wasn't exactly a vitamin supplement. Shocker. But by then, the so-called radium girls had basically turned into human hazard signs. Some literally glowed in the dark, while their bones rotted from the inside out. Punchline: the bosses who insisted it was safe mysteriously weren't licking paintbrushes. Weird how that works. Number 2, leaded gasoline. Next up, lead. You know that metal your parents warned you not to chew as a kid? Well, for decades, scientists thought, let's put it in gasoline. Surely nothing can go wrong. The result? Every car ride from the 1920s to the 1970s doubled as an air-delivered brain damage cocktail. Kids growing up in cities had lower IQs, more behavioral problems, and, surprise, a society just got a little dumber overall. Think about that. Entire generations literally lost brain cells so cars could run quieter. Like sacrificing humanity's collective GPA for a smoother ride to McDonald's. And here's the kicker. The guy who pushed leaded gasoline also pushed CFCs, the chemicals that punched a hole in the ozone layer. Basically, this dude was the Michael Jordan of bad environmental decisions. So yeah, leaded gas got banned, but not before shaving a few IQ points off your grandparents. If you've ever wondered why older people sometimes say, back in my day things were simpler, maybe it wasn't simpler. Maybe it was just the lead. Number 3, the iron lung. Now imagine this. Your body forgets how to breathe. Literally, that was the nightmare of polio victims in the 1940s and 50s. The solution, a medical invention called the iron lung, which sounds like a Marvel villain, but was actually a human-sized metal coffin that breathed for you. You'd be slid into this giant tube, and only your head stuck out. The machine pumped air in and out, expanding and contracting your chest like a creepy mechanical set of lungs. Sounds futuristic, right? Except you lived in it, slept in it, ate in it. Some people spent decades sealed inside. Entire lives lived in a machine the size of a refrigerator laid on its side. Families would decorate the outside with curtains and pictures because nothing says home sweet home like being permanently bolted into a medical prison. The invention worked. It saved lives. But it was banned once better ventilators came along because, society realized living in a steampunk submarine 24/7 might not be the ideal definition of healthcare. Punchline? If you ever feel trapped in your apartment, just remember, at least you're not literally welded into a metal lung. Number 4, the dancing plague of 1518. Okay, this one isn't exactly a man-made invention, but it's so bizarre it deserves a spot. In the summer of 1518, in Strasbourg, France, people suddenly started dancing in the streets. Sounds fun, right? Except they couldn't stop. Days turned into weeks, and dozens, possibly hundreds, collapsed from exhaustion. Some broke bones, some straight up danced themselves to death. Was it poisoned bread? Mass hysteria? Or did someone just invent the medieval version of a flash mob and forget to call cut? Historians still argue, but whatever it was, it spread like wildfire. Imagine going out for groceries and suddenly finding your neighbor cranking out a 72-hour TikTok dance challenge with 0 breaks. The town actually hired musicians, thinking it would burn the fever out. Brilliant. So instead of stopping, The dancers got a live soundtrack to their misery, which is basically like handing Red Bull to someone already bouncing off the walls. Punchline. Turns out the phrase, "dance till you drop," was once less of a metaphor and more of a medical diagnosis. Number 5, the tranquilizer chair. All right, picture this. It's the 18th century. You're struggling with mental illness, maybe depression, maybe anxiety, maybe just the trauma of existing in the 1700s. Instead of therapy or meds, your doctor straps you into what they call a tranquilizer chair. Sounds relaxing, right? Like a Victorian lazy boy recliner with lavender aromatherapy? Yeah, no. This thing looked like a medieval torture device. Patients were tied down, head clamped, arms locked, sometimes even with a bucket under the chair in case you vomited mid-treatment. Then the doctor would spin you around, tilt you, restrain you for hours. The works. The theory was that it slowed down the blood flow and calmed the nerves. Translation, they had no idea what they were doing, so they just immobilized people like broken action figures. What did it actually do? Induce panic attacks, physical injuries, and trauma that made whatever you came in with about 10 times worse. If you weren't insane before, congratulations, you were definitely on the path afterward. Punchline? Basically, psychiatry invented the office chair, but forgot the comfort part and kept the existential dread. Number 6, shoe store x-rays. Now here's a fun little horror story from the 20th century. Imagine going shoe shopping, and instead of just trying them on like a normal human, the clerk says, "Hey, let's x-ray your feet." Yes, this was real. From the 1920s through the 1950s, shoe stores had x-ray machines in the middle of the floor. Kids would stick their feet in the box, Mum and Dad would peek at the glowing bones, and everyone thought it was wholesome family fun. Except, minor detail, no one bothered with radiation shielding, meaning every Saturday afternoon mall trip was basically a low-dose Chernobyl experience. Store clerks, who stood next to these things all day, sometimes developed radiation burns, cataracts, and cancers. Customers. They didn't exactly walk away healthier either. It took decades before anyone finally admitted, maybe blasting kids' bones with radiation just to see if the sneakers fit isn't worth it. Punchline, imagine telling your grandkids, "Back in my day, shoe shopping gave you cancer." Number 7, Project Pigeon World War II. High stakes, nuclear bombs on the horizon, secret weapons in the works, and America's big idea, missiles guided by pigeons. Yes, actual birds. Here's how it worked. They put pigeons in the nose cone of a bomb, gave them a little screen showing the target, and trained them to peck at it. Their pecking would steer the bomb toward the enemy. And shockingly, it worked in tests. The pigeons were like feathered GPS systems with wings. But here's the thing, the military wasn't entirely confident in entrusting the fate of nations to birds. Imagine a general standing in front of Congress like, "Our defense strategy relies on pigeons not getting distracted by breadcrumbs, so the project was scrapped." The pigeons, for the record, probably felt relieved. "Oh, you wanted me to die in a fireball instead of just stealing French fries in Central Park. Hard pass." Punchline. Honestly, given how the Cold War turned out, pigeons might have done a better job than humans. Number 8, sun lamps, aka cancer bulbs. Let's take a trip back to the 1940s, when the beauty industry decided to casually invent cancer in a box. They marketed ultraviolet sun lamps for home use, promising you'd get that bronze summer glow in your own living room. Just plug it in, stand there half naked, and let the rays toast you like a rotisserie chicken. No protective goggles, no warnings, just pure UV radiation blasting directly into your eyeballs and skin. People thought it was glamorous, instant beauty on demand. What they got instead? Burns, early wrinkles, cataracts, and oh yeah, skin cancer. Doctors eventually banned them because it turns out microwaving your face isn't the secret to looking young. Who knew? Punchline? Imagine explaining to your dermatologist, yeah, I voluntarily gave myself radiation poisoning because I wanted to look hot at the office Christmas party. Number 9. Trepanation. DIY brain vibes. All right, buckle up, because this one's been around for thousands of years. It's called trepanation, and it's exactly what it sounds like, drilling a hole in your skull. For fun, for health, for letting the demons out. Ancient civilizations swore by it. Got headaches? Drill a hole. Feeling sad? Drill a hole. Evil spirits whispering in your ear? Drill a hole. Some people even still do it today, convinced it brings mental clarity or extra consciousness, which is just a polite way of saying, I gave myself a DIY sunroof. Now, sure, sometimes it actually helped relieve pressure from brain injuries, but most of the time, it was just humans poking around inside their heads with primitive tools, hoping for enlightenment. Imagine being the poor guy who got it done by the village blacksmith with a rusty drill and no anesthesia. Punchline? If you're ever tempted to open your mind, maybe just try meditation before you literally open your skull. Number 10. Agent Orange, landscaping from hell. Next up, when science decided to make a weed killer so strong it didn't just kill plants, it killed everything. Meet Agent Orange, the chemical defoliant used in the Vietnam War. The military's logic was simple. Clear the jungle, expose the enemy. Easy, right? Except minor detail, it also poisoned the soil, water, and people. Soldiers sprayed it like Febreze, and the result was catastrophic. Civilians and veterans alike ended up with cancers, horrific burns, and generations of children were born with deformities. It wasn't banned until years later, after the long-term nightmare effects became undeniable, and even today, areas of Vietnam are still contaminated because nothing says modern science like nuking nature so hard it stays ruined for half a century. Punchline? Agent Orange was the world's most aggressive lawnmower, except it mowed down humanity, right along with the weeds. Number 11. The Lobster Telephone. Now let's take a quick break from war crimes for something weird. Salvador Dali, surrealist art king, once glued a real lobster onto a telephone. And yes, that was the whole invention, the lobster telephone. It wasn't dangerous in the radiation burns way, but it was definitely hazardous to your dignity. Imagine trying to answer an important call, picking up the receiver, and instead you've got a seafood claw scraping your cheek. Is it art? Is it nonsense? Is it proof that humans will attach random objects to each other and call it genius? Yes, some museums still display this thing like it's holy relic of creativity. Personally, I'd argue it less art and more weird guy glued dinner to a Nokia. Punchline? It's the only phone where you risk catching salmonella while dialing grandma. Number 12. Exploding kerosene stoves. Finally, let's talk about the kitchen nightmare fuel that was early kerosene stoves. These were marketed as the modern, portable, family-friendly way to cook. Except they had one tiny design flaw. They exploded. Families would light them up for dinner, and sometimes the entire stove would combust, turning meal prep into a surprise Michael Bay movie. Kitchens blew apart, people got injured, and dinner was served with a side of shrapnel. The companies, of course, brushed it off with a classic user error excuse. You know, as if families just loved detonating themselves while boiling potatoes. Eventually, safer designs replaced them, but not before a lot of kitchens doubled as small-scale war zones. Punchline? Forget Hell's Kitchen. This was literally kitchen in hell. And there you have it, some of humanity's worst, best ideas. From radioactive glow paint to bird-guided missiles, we've proven that our species is basically one brainstorming session away from self-destruction. But hey, at least it's never boring. That's all for today. I'll be making more videos like this, so subscribe if you don't want to miss them.